Hi everyone, Ryan here. Today, as you can see, we're going to talk about Dune. So this was the series that got me back into reading. I first read the first Dune book um, about about a year ago now. I took it with me on a work trip, and I fell in love with it, and it really invigorated my spark for reading. So today I have finished the whole Dune series. I've read all six books written by Frank Herbert, and what I wanted to do is just give a series overview for Dune, what my thoughts on the series as a whole are, and also I'm going to go individually, briefly into each book and discuss what I liked and disliked from each of them. And yeah, I think at the end we'll do a brief ranking as well, just how all the Dune books rank compared to one another. So overall, I think the Dune series itself is pretty great. I really enjoyed, especially the first book. I know everyone loves the first book, myself included. Um, this is the greatest science fiction novel ever written, and rightfully so. It's so amazing. I was captivated by the world building. I was captivated by Paul and his abilities and everything that he did in this book. Um, I was just really enthralled with the the first Dune book. It really blew my mind when I read it. So this was really the greatest kickoff for a series that I've seen. It's just a fantastic yeah, starting point for the series. That's the first book, Dune. I really enjoyed it, and I think overall for the whole series, um, over time, the series definitely each book coming out afterwards, like book two, three, four, so on, they definitely were a step down compared to the original one. The original one is like top of the top tier, um, and I think just from there afterwards, it just gets progressively worse throughout time. Um, yeah, I don't know what happened. I think Frank Herbert was trying to do a lot of different things. He was getting very political and philosophical with his books and his stories as he went further in time. I really think that the first two books are like um, the greatest of the series, and everything else just kind of slowly drops off. So yeah, let's kind of jump into the um, book by book section. So I've already kind of briefly talked about the first book. You see here I have a special edition that I got from Barnes and Noble. This is what kicked off my love for reading again, and what made me the reader I am today. So there's a lot of love for this book. I can't say enough great things about it. It's truly the greatest piece of science fiction ever written. Um, and the world building has to be some of the best ever written as well. Frank Herbert did such a great job building the world and the cultures, and um, you felt like you were on Dune, this barren desert world, and you were always thinking about water and not wasting any water. I remember when I was reading this, I just remember being conscious throughout the day of how much water I was consuming and how much I was uh, sweating and stuff like that. You really get immersed. It kind of gets into your daily life. So that just shows how great this book was, because it was affecting even my daily life at the time of reading it. So I can't say enough great things about the first book. Um, yeah, and I know a lot of people are also getting introduced to Dune from the movies. I personally haven't watched the new movies yet. That's something I'm going to do towards the end of the year, probably November, December, as we get closer to Dune 3 being released. I'll watch the first two, and then I'll go to the theaters and watch Dune 3. And I gotta say, I'm quite excited for the new one, Dune 3, which is going to be based off of this book here, Dune Messiah, which is the second book in the series. Um, I'm really excited because I really liked how Dune Messiah ended. I liked how I love the story of book one and two combined. I just think it's beautiful. And it really gets Frank Herbert's point across about um, just the problems of a Messiah and these strong political figures and religious figures. So yeah, Dune 1 and 2 are the perfect combination. I love that. That would be definitely my recommendation for anyone trying to read the series. Getting into it, just definitely read book 1 and 2. Everything else you can kind of just drop unless you fall in love with it. Yeah, and I'm very excited for Dune 3. It looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. The movie itself. So yeah, I think Dune Messiah is also. I love this book. It was just a little set down from Dune 1, but I had a lot of fun. This was a short little book. It was pretty great. Now we're getting into where I started to struggle more. Book 3, Children of Dune. Uh, this was definitely a major step down for me. I didn't like Children of Dune that much. I would have to say the main reason why is probably just because of the main character, Leto the Second. I get that Leto the Second is made purposely to be unbearable of a person, just his personality and the way he conducts himself. But that really affected me during this book. I just did not like him as a person, and it just made it hard for me to dig through and just keep pushing through this book. And I just thought the story itself wasn't that interesting either. But I know it was leading us towards the golden path. I also didn't like um, getting into the spoiler kind of section side. Is getting into spoilers. I didn't like bringing Paul back. Um, I love the ending of Doom Messiah where just Paul walks out to the desert and it's kind of left ambiguous. Would have left it. I would have loved it if it was just left like that, where you just kind of make the assumption that he's dead. Would have loved Paul just to remain either dead or left ambiguous on like just not included in the storyline. So bringing Paul back was definitely quite the disappointment. Um, yeah, and I just didn't like Leto the Second that much. But I get it really was just a build up towards God Emperor. So that's the one we'll talk about next, God Emperor. That's book 4 in the Dune series. I like this one a bit more. It was a bit more interesting. Not much going on, just besides there's this whole mystery about what is the golden path and what does Siono have to do with all of this and what is Leto trying to have what is Leto trying to prepare the human race for? All these things were quite ambiguous, and I gotta say, it never really answered until I read the fifth book. And when I watched some supplemental YouTube videos on people and their takes on it, uh, but yeah, overall, this was better. Kind of a step up from the previous book from Children of Dune. I liked it, but I wasn't in love with it. So let's get into book 5, Heretics of Dune. Now this is where people start really hating the series and dumping on it. I get it. I get why people don't like books 5 and 6 of Dune. But I enjoyed it. Definitely still a step down compared to like God Emperor. But it was focusing more now on the Bene Gesserit side, which is kind of like the parts of Dune that I kind of enjoyed and intrigued me the most was kind of this whole um, society of women that were trying to control the population through their breeding program and direct them towards what they thought was right. Um, that was a bit more interesting. I especially liked Heretics of Dune. I like this one a bit more. It was a little bit more of like a cat and mouse game with like what's going on with Duncan, what's going on with Miles trying to escape, what's uh, um, uh, Sienna as well. It was a lot more interesting, and we got to bump around the different stories on different planets, so it kept me a lot more entertained. Yeah, I liked Heretics of Dune actually. It was still pretty good, but overall, compared to like the earlier books, definitely a way major step down. And then lastly, book 6, Chapter House Dune. This was my least favorite of the series. Most of this book takes place on one planet, and a lot of it takes place on that one planet within 2 locations, either within a ship or within the the, the main building for the Bene Gesserit. And I just thought that was incredibly boring. There was nothing going on, just a lot of scheming and planning and hypothesizing and interviewing, and it was just quite boring. Um, and the ending wasn't that great. I didn't like it that much. I know the original Frank Herbert Frank Herbert had intended to write a seventh book to cap off the series, and we never got that because he passed away unfortunately before he got to write it. Um, I think the conclusion in this book is can be satisfying if you kind of reframe how you like. It depends on your perspective. If you think about the the major face dancers that Duncan sees in the net and then the veil, in his visions, if you just interpret those as not just face dancers, but as actually the authors themselves, Frank Herbert and his wife, um, that kind of makes the story a little bit better. And if you take the story from a perspective that, because the last chapter ends that Daniel and Marty are arguing that that Daniel let you know Duncan and Shanna and Miles let them all get away in the no ship, but if you think about it, where the Daniel and Marty are just step-ins for Frank Herbert and his wife, and the story kind of just got away from them, and this is their way. Well, this story got away from them, and they didn't know how to keep approaching it, and this is their way of just saying we're done, we're letting go, and now the story is it's within its own world and it's growing on its own independent of him. So I think that's a fun way of looking at it. It definitely leaves me a lot more satisfied than looking at it literally, where Daniel and Marty are actually face dancers that evolved outside of meeting um, uh, the master Talaxu. So yeah, that leaves it on a major cliffhanger, and we don't know what Shanna's going to do. It sounded like she was going to start her own major revolution, religious revolution, building off of the Missionary Protectiva that was kind of established by the Bene Gesserit earlier on. So yeah, just big cliffhanger if you look at it literally. But if you kind of look at it more metaphorically, that Daniel Marty are just step-ins for Frank Herbert um, and his wife, it kind of becomes a little bit of a better story, where it's like the story just got away from them and it's just gonna evolve into its own thing. It's just up for everyone's interpretation. I like that a little bit better. So yeah, that's my thoughts on all the books individually. I will say I like the series a lot. Um, I really want to give the series, like if you were gonna put it on like one of these tier lists that go from like S for supreme or superior to like A, B, C, D, whatever. I really want to put it on an S tier, but I just can't, just because of the later books. I really Books 3 through 6 are definitely a major step down compared to the first two books. So yeah, I would have to say the series as a whole is probably an A to a B. Um, I would really put it like low A to high B. The series as a whole, it's not definitely not a strong A. The later books definitely hold it back a lot, but for sure if you look at it, just the first two books, if this was all that Frank Herbert had wrote for Dune, this would be for sure an S tier series. This would be one of the greatest things ever written, and that's why I'm very glad with the movies um, that are coming out, like the last one that's coming out and the new ones that were just made. I'm really glad that they're just following the story from the first two books. I think it's a great story, and I'm very excited to watch all three movies. I just from the story alone, it could be one of the greatest trilogies ever made. And I've seen some of the camera work and the score, like the music score and all this. And yeah, for sure, I bet this series goes down as one of the greatest trilogy for movies ever made. So I'm very excited to watch them and give my feedback here on the channel soon. So yeah, and then lastly, I just want to kind of do a quick ranking of all the books in order, just like what I think was best. So I gotta definitely say number one is the first Dune book. This was by far my favorite. Um, Again, really enjoyed it. I'm not gonna harp on it too much, but it's so great. Next, we have Dune Messiah. Love this book. I think it was the perfect like epilogue to the first book. Next, I'll put God Emperor at number three for the one I enjoyed. It was pretty good, but it was definitely a step down for me compared to the first two. Then from there, it kind of becomes tricky. Um, I really didn't like Children of Dune, but story wise, it's better than the other two. But I found Leto 2 so annoying that I might just put Heretics of Dune above it. They're pretty much a tie for me. I just this is where I'm like I don't really like these books anymore. Like I probably won't reread books like book 3 or 5 or 6 ever again. Um, yeah, I think just for the sake of this video, so I make a decision. Uh, yeah, I probably put book 3 ahead. The story's a bit better, despite how annoying Leto the Second is, and bringing back Paul, I didn't like that either. But overall, it was still pretty good. The whole tension with Aaliyah, um, yeah, it was still a pretty good story. So I put this number 4, and then number 5 put Heretics of Dune, and lastly Chapter House Dune. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Dune series as a whole. Um, um, yeah, overall, I really did enjoy it. I know I gave a lot of negative thoughts on the later books, but I still did enjoy them. I just thought they were it's so sad because I'm comparing them to like one of the greatest books ever written, definitely the greatest science fiction book ever written in Dune in the first book. So it's that comparison really hurts the rest of the series when you compare these follow up books to the greatest science fiction book ever written. But overall, this series is pretty good. I would give it like a low A on the tier ranking. So it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you like the movies. I think you would really love reading the first two books. I would definitely recommend it. You get a lot more nuances and details from the books. Just in general, I haven't watched the movies myself yet, but just in general, from books to movies, you get a lot more details from books. So I would definitely still recommend it. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Dune series, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video and appreciate Dune as much as I do. So that's all. Have a good one. Bye, guys.